Hey guys, it's Allison Pereira from Abundance Practice Building, and today we're going to be talking about how to schedule clients whether you take their insurance or not. So we have all had the experience of stumbling over our words, whether it was with a crush or public speaking or booking and maintaining clients. I personally had a lot of crushes in my youth, and I've done a lot of public speaking, and most importantly, I've booked and maintained clients over the last 12 years in 3 different states. So we're taught how to respond clinically when people disclose things in session, but we're just not taught how to have these conversations around getting people through the door or how to manage balances, things like that just feel super awkward. The thing is, if we're doing the things we feel like we have to do instead of the things that we really want for our business and for our lives, we end up kind of digging ourselves into a hole. So what I want to do is make it easier for you to be able to book the clients that call that you really feel like would be a great fit, whether or not you take insurance. And we're going to talk about all these different routes, and not from a space of what you should do, but like how to word it depending on what your practice is set up like. We're going to talk about that, and I'm going to give you some language, but there are a few things that I really want you to consider before we delve into kind of the script of it all. First, I want you to assume that this client is calling to schedule with you. They're not calling to see if you're a good fit. They're not calling to just have a chit chat and get to know you some. They're calling to schedule with you. It gives you a lot more confidence. It takes away the sense that you have to sell yourself that feels pretty gross for most of us. I've heard a lot of people who make this process really complicated because they want people to feel like they have a lot of options. But if I called my doctor's office and I said, hey, I've got this cough, I want to come in, and they were like, well, which kind of appointment would you like? And how long do you want that? And when do you want to follow up? I'd be like, I don't know, you're the experts, you tell me. I don't know how this works. So I want us to make it really easy for people, and that does not mean taking away options. It just means being cognizant of the fact that we're the experts in how this therapy thing works, and they're still in the learning process, and we'll be working with them to figure out what works best. So a few more things before we get into the script is that when you ask why they're coming to counseling or what they're coming into counseling for help with, I want you to be really, I want you to be engaged, right? This is not a monologue, and it feels super awkward for somebody to call a complete stranger and go like full throttle into all their issues. So use the same kind of skills that you use in counseling, and that may seem really intuitive to you, but you'd be surprised how many of us kind of freeze up on the phone and we're nervous, and so we're thinking more about our own selves and what we're going to say, and we're not really attending to this potential client. I also want you to help them have really realistic expectations, and you'll hear the way I do that in the script, that both the first session is really important to assess fit. It's not like, all right, now we're in a counseling relationship, and also that there's going to have to be some skin in the game. There's going to have to be some work. So yeah, we're going to talk about like letting them know that it's not just you and your like magical therapy one that's going to fix everything and save the day. And then I'm going to tell you how to proceed from there, whether or not you take insurance, and whether or not if you take insurance, you want them to verify their own benefits or not. So we're going to go into that. I also want you to really practice this script, and I'm going to put it in the script so you don't have to like take notes. I'm going to put the script in the pinned comment up top after I'm done with this, because I can't talk and do that at the same time. But I will put it in there right away. And I want you to practice it so that it feels like it's kind of rolling off your tongue in a smoother way. So this is how I do it. They'll call and I'll say, tell me a little bit about what you're coming into therapy for. And they'll tell me, and depending on the client, sometimes that's like a clipped 2-sentence answer, and sometimes that's 16 paragraphs, right? And that's just depends on the client. And so making sure that you're attending and being kind and generous with your time. And that might sometimes mean hurrying the conversation along if you've got another client to get to or something like that. But I say, tell me what you're coming into therapy for, and then something along the lines of like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'd love to find a time to meet so that we can get you in the door, or so that we can get you started on a better path. So going ahead and initiating the conversation to get them in. And then I'll say, do you have any questions about the way I work? And that way, if they're like, whoa, hold on, I don't want to schedule, like, I just wanted to have a conversation with you, that gives them an opportunity to say that. But that doesn't actually happen. I think that it's our fear that that's going to happen. But it does give them an opportunity to ask questions if they do have questions about your modality, or how long you've been in practice, or if you think that they're, someone that is a good fit for, if they're a good fit for you, that kind of thing. Let's see. And then I'll say one of the purposes of the first appointment is to make sure that we're a good fit for one another. And most of my clients come in because they're feeling really miserable. And while most of them have some ambivalence around that, they're really willing to work their butts off in order to get into a better place. Do you feel like that describes you? So that automatically sets it up so that they're clear. There's no therapy wand, that there's skin in the game. A lot of people have never been in therapy before. They don't realize that this is a process that they're as engaged in as they are. And I think that that really has helped make ideal clients out of some clients who may not have been ideal motivation-wise coming in. Because they all say, yeah, that totally describes me. And I don't think that I'm just so lucky that all my clients are so motivated. I think that I'm setting the stage for them. So if you take insurance and you want them to verify their own benefits, what I typically say is, great, I encourage everybody to call the number on the back of their card and find out what your benefits are so that there aren't any scary financial surprises, and find out your copay and if you have a deductible to reach, right? Easy. Now, if you're verifying benefits, you need to get a little bit more information from them. So I'll say, okay, great. I want to get some information from you so I can verify your insurance benefits. Do you have your insurance card or your insurance information handy? Often it's in their wallet, they get it. I need to make sure I spelled your name right. Can you spell it for me? And what is your member ID? And is there a suffix? Usually that's a 00, 01, 02, etc. And what's your date of birth? And then, are you the policy holder? Are you the person who bought this policy or gets it through work, or is somebody else the policy holder? And if it is another person who's the policy holder, then I'll ask for their name and their date of birth. And that should cover you in terms of verifying their benefits. Now, if you don't take insurance, this is the script that I've used, and it works like a charm. And we'll talk about what works like a charm means in a minute, because it doesn't mean that I get every single person through the door that calls me, because not everybody can afford me, and I want to be respectful of that and give them people that they can afford. So they'll say these are the reasons I'm coming into counseling, and I'll say, oh, so I don't take insurance. This is only if they ask if I take insurance. I don't take insurance, but we can navigate this. I'm really happy to provide you with a form that you can send into your insurance for possible reimbursement. And that means you're responsible for the fees at the time of our session. And then depending on your plan, there may be a certain percentage that's reimbursed to you by your insurance. I encourage everybody to call the number on the back of their insurance card to find out what your out-of-network benefits are, just so there aren't any scary financial surprises. And make sure you ask them where to send what's called a super bill. That's the form I'm going to give you, and I'll give you everything you need for that. You just need the address. And then another important part that I put in there is, since my fees are higher than your copay, I do want to make sure it's something you can make work. Each session is however much your sessions are. And initially I meet with clients weekly. Is that something you can, are you able to prioritize your therapy at that rate right now? And sometimes people say no, because they can't. And if that's the case, then I say, okay, well, I'd love to give you some really good referrals. These are people that I would trust my friends or family with. And I provide those referrals to them, and I wish them well. I would not recommend saying, okay, well, maybe we can just do every other week then, because if what somebody needs is weekly therapy, I want you to make sure that they're getting weekly therapy, right? We don't want people's progress to be slowed because there's a mismatch between what they can pay and what your fee is. Let's see. What else? So if they say, yeah, I can make that happen, or I can make that work, then I'll say, okay, great. And start with 2 time slots. If you give them more than 2 time slots, it gets really overwhelming, right? So, okay, I could do 3 on Tuesday or 10 on Thursday. Would either of those work for you? If the answer is no, you just give them 2 more, and you just give them 2 at a time. Many of our clients have a lot going on in their minds, and they need the ease of a 2-choice option. So you can still explore times with them. You're not well, you can't do it, because you can still just give them 2 more, but it just makes it way easier for them. Let's see. Yeah, so I'm going to put all of this. There's a downloadable PDF. I'm going to put the URL in the first comment. I'm going to pin that. And if you want more than 60 other scripts and templates, along with a bunch of other great stuff, including the Marketing Fundamentals course, and I'll tell you a little bit about the scripts and templates, since this is from that. We've got everything from like addressing money that's owed in a really graceful way, getting people in during daytime hours. That's something that I hear a lot of people want, and they don't know how to make that happen because everybody that they see works. And I've got something that's worked for me for years around that, because I haven't worked past 5 and I don't even know how many years, a lot of years. So yeah, so those scripts. There's also the Marketing Fundamentals course, which gives you a ton of information about marketing, and not just like how to market your practice, but how to market your practice in a way that's not going to drive you crazy and it's going to bring you some joy. So basically, anything you need for a private practice. There's some one-on-ones with me. There's a niche mini course. There's monthly trainings and a close-knit community that's over at the Abundance Party, which is Abundance Party, really. Abundanceparty.com. And yeah, it's a low $29 per month right now. So if you hop in before August 18th, then you can snag it at that spot and lock in that rate. Great. Thanks so much.